Assalamu alaikum dear students. Today we will discuss the G value in EPR spectroscopy. So what we use this value at so many places in the mathematical expressions. So today we will actually see what is the actual nature of this G value. So this G value is a dimensionless constant. G value is a dimensionless constant. Dimensionless constant. That means it is a numerical factor which has no units, and also it is also known as the spectroscopic constant. The spectroscopic constant, or the Landy splitting factor. Landy splitting factor. So this G value is a dimensionless constant, and it is also known as Landy splitting factor or spectroscopic constant. So what it actually is, it is very much analogous to the shielding factor which we use in case of NMR spectroscopy. You might have seen in case of NMR spectroscopy we use the shielding constant. Shielding constant sigma in case of NMR spectroscopy. Similarly, the G value is of the same nature in case of EPR spectroscopy. Now we will see how the two are related. The two are related in the sense that both depend on the electron density around the respective spinors which we use in case of NMR and EPR. For example, in NMR spectroscopy, we are concerned about nuclear spin. The electronic environment around that is determined by this shielding constant. Likewise, the electronic environment around the electronic spin in case of EPR spectroscopy is determined by this G value. So what we see in case of NMR, what we write actually, we write that B effective, that means the effective magnetic field which is actually felt by the nuclear spin, is equal to the actual applied field, that is B naught, into 1 minus sigma, where sigma is the shielding factor. So the effective magnetic field which is felt by the nuclear spin is B naught multiplied by 1 minus sigma. Likewise, we can say that the change in energy in case of NMR will be given by Gn beta n B effective delta m I. That means this is the similar equation which we have already studied. So in case of NMR, the change in the in energy between the two energy levels will be equal to Gn beta n B effective delta m I, because B effective will be the actual magnetic field which will be felt by the nuclear spin. Delta mi is change in the nuclear spin quantum number. So here we can write delta E is NMR is equal to Gn beta n. For B effective we can write B naught 1 minus sigma delta mi. That means the magnetic field which we actually apply is not the same which is actually felt by the nuclear spin. It is different by some factor that will be determined by this quantity 1 minus sigma. Okay. So likewise, in case of the EPR spectroscopy, the more of the analogous thing happens here also. In case of EPR spectroscopy, in EPR spectroscopy, what happens? Delta E EPR will be equal to GE beta E B effective delta ms, where delta ms is the change in electronic spin quantum number. So it will be equal to GE beta E. For B effective we will write B naught 1 minus sigma. Likewise in case of NMR spectroscopy and delta ms. Okay. So it can be also written as G beta E B naught delta m s. So delta E EPR will be written as G beta E B naught delta m s. That means what does that mean? That G is equal to GE into 1 minus sigma. So the G factor which we actually use, it is the multiple of this G value for the free electron and the 1 minus sigma, that is 1 minus the shielding factor. Okay. Now we will see how the value of this G changes. It has been seen that the G is anisotropic in nature. G factor or value is anisotropic in nature. What does that mean? G factor is anisotropic in nature. What does that mean? That means the value of G is dependent on the direction of its measurement. So it will differ if we measure it in the different directions. As you know, generally we use applied magnetic field in the Z direction, which we call as BZ. We generally use applied magnetic field in the Z along the Z coordinate. So if we calculate the G value in this very coordinate, in the Z coordinate direction, then that will be called G parallel. That means that is parallel to along the Z axis, or the axis where from we apply the magnetic field. And if we calculate the G value along some another coordinate like X coordinate or Y coordinate, that will be given by G perpendicular. That means Gx or Gy will be represented by G perpendicular, while as Gz will be represented by G parallel, because Gz will be along the same coordinate axis where from we are using the applied magnetic field. Okay. So it means that the value of G actually it depends on the electron density along that very coordinate axis by from we are measuring it. So the value of this G will depend on the electron density along its measurement of along its direction of measurement. So like for example, we will take example of copper 2 positive octahedral complexes. Octahedral complexes. Copper dipositive octahedral complex. In case of John Toller distorted octahedral complexes of this John Taylor distorted complexes of this copper, what we will we can see that the alignment of the energy levels of the d orbitals in case of such complexes will be aligned like this. For example, this is the energy dx square minus y square will be in case of there actually two cases will arise here. One case is like this, that there will be elongation of the bond along the z axis, and second will be compression. How we can show that? We can show that like this. For example, in one case it will be like this, and for the another case it will be like so. In one case there will be elongation of the ligand along the z coordinate, and in the another there will be compression of the ligand along z axis or z coordinate. Okay, two cases will arise in case of these copper octahedral complexes when the John Taylor distortion occurs in them. In these two situations, what will be the alignment of the energy levels in case of these two situations? In case of the elongation, when there is elongation along the z coordinate, there will be the alignment will be like this: dx square minus y square will be highest in energy, and it will be followed by dz square, and then dxy, then the lowest in energy will be dxz is equal to dyz. It is for the elongated case, while there is elongation along of the ligand metal ligand bond along the z coordinate. But in case of compression, what will happen? In case of compression, there will be dz square will be highest in energy, followed by dx square minus y square, followed by dxz is equal to dyz, and followed by dxy. Now we will see how the electrons will be filled in these. For example, 4 will be here, 2 will be here, 2 will be here, and 1 will be here in this case. And in this case, what will be? The 2 will be in this orbital, 4 will be in this orbital, 2 will be in this orbital, and 1 will be in the dz square orbital. As you know, here you can see in the valence orbitals, you can see that dz square has higher electron density than dx square minus y square. In this case, where there is elongation of the metal ligand in the z coordinate, while as here there is opposite of it. You will see in dx square minus y square, that means in xy plane there is more electron density than in the z coordinate, because I will show here dz square can be shown like this. That means whole z orbital is concentrated in the z direction. So if the electron density is more in this, so it will, the g value along the z direction will increase, while as in case of dx square minus y square, in case of dx square minus y square, for example, this is y, this is x, the dx square minus y square will be like this. This orbital will be in the xy plane. So if the electron density is more in the xy plane, then the g value will be more along x and y direction. Fine. So here we can say that in case of this, where the dz orbital contains more electron density, then since our gz is along z coordinate axis, so then we can say that g parallel, that means gz, is greater than g perpendicular. G perpendicular is what we actually measure along x and y coordinate. But in case of this, g perpendicular will be greater than g parallel, because here the more electron density is in the xy plane than in the z coordinate direction. Okay. So from this we can get the idea that the g value depends on the direction of its measurement. That means it is anisotropic in nature. Okay. And now there is one more point, that this g value in gases, liquids or amorphous solids is isotropic. What does that mean? That means the g value does not change in case of gases, liquids or amorphous solids when we measure them in the different directions. Why it is happening like that? Because in case of gases and liquids, we can say that due to the fast tumbling of the molecules, in case of gases and liquids, the anisotropic effect will be nullified. So there will be no directional properties in case of gases and liquids. But in case of amorphous solids, as we know, they are also isotropic, they have long range order. So they also show isotropy in case of the measurement of g value. Okay. However, in case of crystalline solids, what happens? Here two cases arise. Since crystalline solids have short range order, they are anisotropic. So two cases arise here. One is if they are chiral. If the crystalline solid is chiral, that means when it is chiral, that means it is totally dissymmetric. Because when there is symmetry, it will not be chiral. So this is totally dissymmetric. In this case, we say that gx is equal to gy is not equal to gz. That means gz is different from gx and gy. However, in this isotropic condition, gx is equal to gy is equal to gz. That means if you go along any axis, the value of g will not change in case of isotropic. But here in crystalline solids, when the crystalline solid is chiral, that means it is totally dissymmetric. That at that very time, along gz, if you measure along the gz direction, the g value along other two coordinates will be equal, but along gz it will be different. However, if the molecule is achiral, that means it may have symmetry. It will be symmetric. In this case, all gx will not be equal to gy, will not be equal to gz. Z. That means in all directions the value of G will change. That means it will show total anisotropy in case of achiral crystalline solids. So from here you got the idea that the G value is actually the function of the electron density around the electronic spin of our interest, and also its value is anisotropic, that it depends on the direction of its measurement. Now we will move to another thing, how we can actually represent the G value in some other mathematical quantities, like representation of